Why is life absurd? Here is a question for you. Why didn't you die yesterday? This morning? Why did you open your eyes and begin another day? Can you give a clear reason? Or did you simply accept another day out of habit, as if it were inevitable? Albert Camus once said that the most fundamental philosophical question is this: if there is no reason to live, then is there any reason to continue? Yet most people avoid this question because it is not easy to answer. We live like machines, waking up at the same time, walking the same path, repeating the same tasks. But then, at some moment, a thought arises. Why am I living like this? That is when everything that once felt familiar starts to seem strange. The aroma of morning coffee, the music playing in the background, even the touch of air against your skin, all of it suddenly feels unfamiliar. And then, you realize the world you live in does not provide the clear meaning you once assumed it had. This is what Camus called the absurd. Humans instinctively search for meaning, yet the world remains silent. We ask questions, but no answers come. We seek purpose, but none is given. This disconnection between human longing and the world's indifference is the essence of absurdity. But the real question is, what do we do after recognizing this absurdity? Some fall into despair, believing that life is meaningless and therefore not worth living. But Camus argued otherwise. Do not despair. Instead, face absurdity directly. If meaning is not given, then it is up to us to create it. The moment we accept absurdity, we become free. We no longer need to search for answers outside ourselves. If life does not provide meaning, then meaning is now in our hands. We set our own purpose, determine our own direction, and define our own existence. Not knowing why we live does not mean we should stop living. On the contrary, that realization is the true starting point. If life gives us nothing, then it is our task to create something. This is the mindset of those who embrace the absurd. Life is not something we receive, it is something we build. Suicide or rebellion. One morning, a man looked into the mirror and thought to himself, another day had begun, no different from yesterday. He would wake up at the same time, walk the same path, and repeat the same tasks. If everything was meaningless, what was the point of continuing? If life held no inherent purpose, was there any reason to go on? This is not merely a melancholic thought. Albert Camus called this the most fundamental question in philosophy. Humans seek meaning, but the world offers nothing in return. As a result, some contemplate an extreme choice. If life is inherently meaningless, why should one continue to live? This is the question Camus confronted. But he had an answer. There is no need to despair in the face of this question. In fact, facing it directly can open life to an entirely new dimension. The choice is simple. One can either abandon life or accept it as it is and create meaning from within. Camus argued that the only true choice is the latter. This is what he called rebellion. When confronted with absurdity, people react in two ways. First, they try to escape it. They cling to faith, ideologies, social conventions, or the pursuit of success, desperately seeking meaning. But these are merely illusions. Second, they face absurdity head-on and carve their own path. This is true rebellion. The rebellious human acknowledges that life is meaningless, yet still chooses to live and create meaning. He does not despair simply because the world refuses to provide answers. Instead, He asks his own questions and invents his own responses. Only those who embrace this mindset can truly transcend absurdity. When life feels empty, we must choose between two paths. Should we abandon life, or should we rebel against meaninglessness and move forward? Camus was clear in his answer. Rebel. The lack of inherent meaning is not a reason to surrender. On the contrary, accepting this truth makes us stronger, freer, and more powerful. Meaning is not something given to use, it is something we create. To live is to rebel. Enduring each day is an act of defiance. Paving one's own way in a meaningless world is an act of rebellion. If life does not hand us a clear purpose, we must create our own. This is the essence of Camus' vision of the rebellious human. The fate of Sisyphus. One day, a man was pushing a massive boulder. Struggling, he rolled it up to the top of a mountain, only to watch it tumble back down. Without hesitation, he descended the mountain and began pushing the boulder again. This endless labor was his fate. This is the story of Sisyphus, a man cursed by the gods. Albert Camus saw Sisyphus as the ultimate symbol of the absurd human condition. Like Sisyphus, humans repeat the same tasks every day. We wake up, work, eat, and sleep in an endless cycle. At some point, we ask ourselves what is the meaning of all this, but the world gives us no answer. So, what should we do? First, we can deny reality and attempt to escape. We can despair over the futility of our efforts and abandon life itself. But this is not a solution, it is simply surrender. Camus rejected this approach. He argued that the key was to accept our fate. Sisyphus must push his boulder. But that does not mean he must be unhappy. Second, we can recognize the absurdity and still find freedom within it. If the act of pushing the boulder cannot be erased, then we must redefine its meaning ourselves. Fate may be given, but how we respond to it is our choice. Sisyphus, rather than cursing his reality, can embrace it with a sense of ownership. Camus declared that we must imagine Sisyphus as a happy man. Ultimately, it is our attitude that matters. Life is inherently repetitive and can often seem meaningless. But if we create value within that repetition, life is no longer meaningless. More than mere survival, it is about constructing meaning for ourselves. This is the way to overcome absurdity. The fate of Sisyphus is also our fate. But we are not merely beings who push boulders. We have the power to shape meaning within the struggle. Even if the boulder falls, we can find purpose in pushing it once more. This is the mindset of the rebellious human.